In today's video, we are going to take some more time to once again talk about Days Gone, and we're specifically going to be talking about sales figures and how it's performing, and just kind of go over it once again. Now, Days Gone is a game that we've taken a lot of time on this channel in the past couple of months to talk about, and for good reason. It's the big AAA exclusive game that Sony released for the PS4 during the first half. We know we're going to be getting Death Stranding as the big AAA game to kind of close out the year going into 2020. And the thing is, Days Gone, I think, is an interesting one here in terms of talking about how it was received, talking about review scores, how people feel about it, especially now that we're removed from it by a couple of months. You know, do people look back on it a little bit differently? And then we also have to take into account sales. People are specifically interested in sales numbers when it comes to a game like Days Gone, because something that we know is that a lot of Sony's first-party titles, the big AAA games, they tend to sell really well, and that's usually for good reason. That's because they're known for their quality. They're also known for being single-player. Now, there are some games that do offer multiplayer as well, but overall, most of the games are single-player, narrative-driven experiences, and people really gravitate towards that. These days, it seems like Sony is one of the only big publishers that is willing to put a lot of time and a lot of their resources into the development of these types of games, to whereas a lot of other publishers just aren't interested in it. They're going against it, and they're really just focused on games as a service. And to whereas I think there can be a healthy balance between the two. With a lot of these publishers, unfortunately, it seems like there just isn't really that healthy balance there anymore, or at least we have to kind of push them to, to be more balanced in that way. But when you look at Sony in a game like Days Gone, it's a game that I was very excited for, and the good news here is this, because I don't want to, wait till halfway through the video to let you know what the good news is. It says that Days Gone is the UK's best-selling new IP of 2019. It says Days Gone came in for plenty of criticism from some corners of the internet prior to its release, but it is actually the best-selling new IP of the year in the UK. New research from the Entertainment Retail Association, which sources physical game sales data and digital estimates, reveals that the Moody Open World exclusive sold 229,182 units through the first 6 months of 2019. That is a particularly impressive statistic when you consider that it only released on April 26th. In fact, the game has outperformed some other big games, including BioWare's hotly anticipated Anthem, which may have disappointed critically, but was on the receiving end of a of a monstrous marketing campaign. The multi-platform Sekiro Shadows Die Twice couldn't touch Sony's Ben's biker-themed zombie apocalypse either. Hopefully we will get some official worldwide sales figures from the platform holders soon, as all of the evidence suggests that Deacon St. John's debut has been a surprise smash hit. So yeah, I have to say that it is really, really good to see that Days Gone is selling well, because as somebody who has played the game, I platinumed the game, it is hard to believe that there are still people who believe that Days Gone is a bad game. There's people who, for some reason, think it's a trash game, it's a low-quality game. Now, if you want to say it's a little bit generic, okay, I can understand why you would say that. That's a totally understandable criticism. But when you actually play the game of Days Gone, and I think most of you who have played it can back me up on this, you'll find that it's actually a really awesome experience. Is it the best experience? No, I wouldn't call it that, but it's just super impressive when you think about Sony Bend and how it's been so long since they've made a proper AAA title, and Sony kind of trusted them to do something great, to do something big, and Sony Bend, at least the developers there, have went on record saying that Days Gone is their dream game. It's the dream game that they wanted to make, and personally, I think they did a fantastic job. Are there improvements that need to be made for a potential sequel? Of course. There's always room for improvement, and we know that anytime a developer is bringing out a new IP and they're doing something new, regardless of how generic some people may think it is, they're never going to hit it out of the park the first time. That's just completely unrealistic. If they do, that's amazing, that's great, but that's just an unrealistic expectation. There's always going to be certain things where they can improve upon, and you realize that the full potential isn't realized yet, and there's just so much more room for something to grow. And when it comes to Days Gone as an IP, I am just incredibly happy to see that it's doing well, because I was rooting for this game before it came out. It was one of the games that I was really interested in. It was one of the games that really motivated me to say, you know what, I need to get a PS4, because not only have I missed out on a ton of amazing games already, but I don't want to continue to miss out on them. I knew I was going to be interested in games like Death Stranding and The Last of Us Part 2 for sure, but I was also very much interested in Days Gone, and to see that it is now the best-selling new IP in the UK, that's actually really good. And every time we get an update on this game when it comes to sales and how it's performing, it's just good news. It seems that a lot of people have went out there and supported this game, even though it really faced a lot of criticism. As this article says in the beginning here, it did get off to a very rough start. And anybody who's been on, following my channel for a little while now, the past couple of months, I've been covering all this, and I just kind of had a big problem with the way that some of these reviewers were talking about the game. Now, it seems like one of the biggest issues with Days Gone, and this is where I think Sony may have really dropped the ball on this one, is they ended up releasing the game in, I guess it's pre-patched state, where there was a big update that the game was supposed to get and a big patch that was supposed to be downloaded that was going to fix a lot of issues with the game. But unfortunately for a lot of the reviewers, because they got the game early, they were playing the game without this patch, and so understandably there were some reviewers, not all reviewers, that's important thing to keep in mind here, there were some reviewers who were knocking off points for the game and giving it lower scores because of technical reasons, and that's totally understandable. And we know that all of that stuff basically got fixed, especially after the big major day one patch that the game was supposed to get. But then you had other individuals who were taking off points for a game like Days Gone for just honestly reasons that people just were not getting behind and reasons that people were not agreeing. Everybody is entitled to their own opinion, but we've talked about this before. One of the biggest issues I've had with some of the reviews of Days Gone is it seems like not a lot, but at least a few prominent so-called games journalists who it's their job to review games in an unbiased way. It just seems like they were kind of injecting their own agenda or their own biases into some of the reasoning as to why they're docking points of the game. But at the end of the day, review scores don't really matter that much. They are important, don't get me wrong, I don't want to make it sound like they're not. They are important, and they do paint usually a pretty good picture of what you can expect from a game. But I feel like Days Gone is one of the few examples where you cannot really fully trust every review. And it's interesting because I've seen so many people have messaged me and said that they were really on the fence about Days Gone because they were looking at the review scores and they were concerned. They were thinking, if I'm going to spend $60 on this game, am I going to get ripped off? Am I going to feel disappointed? Because it's, when you spend $60 on a single player game, the last thing you want is to feel like you just wasted your money. That's the worst feeling in the world as a gamer. When you're spending your hard-earned money on something, you're excited to play it, and you realize this was a complete waste. I feel like that's how a lot of people felt when they purchased Anthem, right? And, it's crazy to think that Anthem and Days Gone, in some ways, actually had, similar review scores, from certain outlets. And so, in my opinion, it's absolutely insane to think that there were some outlets giving Days Gone the same review score that they were giving a game like Anthem, to whereas when you look at Anthem, that's what true failure looks like. That's what a truly unfinished bad game that just has no business being sold at $60 at launch looks like, to whereas Days Gone, did it have a couple technical issues at first? Yeah, but they got patched out very, very quickly. Sony Bend was very good about that. And so basically what I'm really just trying to say in this video is that it's worth celebrating this. It's worth celebrating the fact that Sony is out here once again proving that AAA single-player games are alive and well, and regardless of how generic some people may think a game like Days Gone is, I played it, and I know that most of you who've played it can agree. We're not going to sit here and say it's an absolute masterpiece and it's on the same level as some of Sony's other first-party titles, but for a new IP from a studio such as Sony Bend that is out here trying to prove that they can hold their own with some of the best games in the industry and some of the best studios in the industry. They've done an absolutely amazing job, and I have to really give them all the credit in the world for this, and this is why I'm going to continue to update you guys on any time we get some good news regarding Days Gone. Not too long ago, we did a video, which I'm sure maybe some of you missed, but I'll just let you know here. It was kind of leaked out, I guess you could say, that Sony Bend is currently in the process of hiring some more developers on board to work on a new AAA exclusive game for presumably the PlayStation 5, and we were kind of speculating what game this is going to be, and I came to the conclusion that it's Days Gone 2. A sequel to Days Gone is currently being worked on, and honestly, every time we see the sales figures update and we see just how well it's sold and how well it's doing for Sony, I think we can come to the conclusion it's safe to say that yes, we are going to get a sequel to Days Gone. That makes me very happy. Obviously, it's not confirmed yet, so we can't say it's official until it's confirmed by Sony or Sony Bend themselves. But yeah, that's going to do it for the video, guys. I just wanted to take some time here to once again celebrate Days Gone and talk about it. And oh yeah, something else I totally forgot to mention up until this point that I should have mentioned is they've been doing a really good job, even though I haven't personally taken time yet to go back and play it, with updating the game with new content and new challenges and trophies and all this. And I've kind of been noticing that they have Sony Bend has been doing a really good job in adding a lot of content, free content I should add, to the game to give players a reason to keep coming back and playing, because, you know, there's a lot of people say, oh, it's just one and done. Not necessarily. If you pay attention to anything Sony's developers and studios do, they usually always try to give you a reason to go back and play the game through free updates. So that's something that is worth mentioning as well. But that does it for the video, guys. Let me know your thoughts about this down in the comments below. How do you feel about Days Gone and how well it's continuing to sell? Do you think we're going to get a sequel to it? Do you think that the game just got like a bad rap when it first came out and it didn't deserve it, and it's actually a much better game than a lot of people tend to give it credit for? I will be very interested to see what you guys have to say. Be sure to leave the video a like if you did enjoy it. Really helps it out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Hit the bell notification icon and feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.